every game, every moment. 96.7 KFAN Plus brings you the men's college basketball tournament. It's driven by Dave Smith Motors. Coverage continues this Thursday. You can tune in for free on 96.7 or on the free iHeartRadio app to catch all the insanity.
Gaardsy coming up next segment. He will help us review Golden Gopher women's basketball. Big victory. Come from behind again against Ole Miss. The Gophers a 4 seed. Ole Miss was a 5. Very dramatic finish at the barn. We'll also find out why we didn't storm the court. I mean, to me, that was absolutely storming the court worthy. But we'll find out if there's certain NCAA governed rules in place in a situation like that.
Courts have been stormed for less.
Often here. There's no question about that. In addition, Dawn Plitzowite, the Golden Gopher women's basketball coach, will join for a quick hit about 5:15 or so, and Louie will join at 5:30. Is it possible that the real sports state that Minnesota represents is the state of baseball? I'm just asking. I guess it all depends on how you want to define it. How many baseball Hall of Famers hail from this metropolitan area, specifically St. Paul, Minnesota? How many? Well, I think 3. David Winfield, Paul Molitor, and the baby Jesus himself, Joe Mauer. On the men's side, which sport still has the 2 most recent, the 2 only World Championship trophies? Minnesota Twins. I get it. Been a long time. That feels foreign, especially compared to the current condition of the franchise. But that's hard to top. Because I don't remember the Vikings ever winning a Super Bowl. And they go back even further in getting to the Super Bowl, late 70s? 0 for 4. Minnesota North Stars got to the finals as recently, was it 91 or 92 we got there, and then lost to Pittsburgh in the finals.
I want to say it was 91.
But we didn't win it.
They did not.
Correct? Basketball, we've never even gotten to the NBA Finals. Even if, we're feeling a little bit better about our club than we have historically. So maybe, and I'm forgetting, what about Jack Morris? How could I forget Black Jack Morris, for God's sake? Where's he from? It's one of us too. Just saying. Somebody's suggesting, it's way easier to get into Baseball Hall of Fame. Well, compared to what? And are you suggesting that none of those 4 are cheap entries into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame? Come on, man. Doesn't make any sense. Dan, great interview with Johnny Athletic. Can you comment on Garnett's involvement with the team? I thought he was going to be more visible when A-Rod and Mark Laurie took over ownership. He's talking about an interview on NBC that KG gave. And in terms of involvement with the team, in the end, I don't know how often it's going to be. I think it's going to get ratcheted up, but I don't think we should necessarily assume he's going to be here every other week. I'm guessing. I could be wrong. It's whatever ways you can connect him with the franchise, it's all good. We all understand that. But I still think it's not going to be in a role in which he's running anything. I don't think there's any reason to believe he's going to get involved on that level. But hopefully, as we get closer and closer to when we get the jersey retirement, all that kind of good stuff, he is around more often, and we'd love to have him on the show as we've made perfectly clear to the Minnesota Timberwolves as well. Let's pause, get caught up on college basketball, women's side. By the way, Iowa, the dreams died. Their women's team, a 2 seed, ultimately lost in double overtime. And as a result, they will not join the men's Iowa team in the Sweet 16. They ended up losing the game that I was talking about a little bit earlier in the broadcast. But we'll talk about Golden Gopher women's basketball. They are in the Sweet 16. They have indeed made it. They will play, I believe, in Sacramento on Friday, probably against UCLA, although that's still to be determined, I believe, later today. We'll get Gaardsy's bird's eye view of what took place in the barn, the atmosphere, another come from behind fourth quarter performance to get the thing done. We'll check in with our guy, former producer of the program, Gaardsy, now more likely to be a guest. He joins us now.
If you want to chime in on what's happening to your favorite KFAN shows, you can. You can make your voice heard on the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. Just let us know what you have to say by texting your message to 64686 at 64686. Standard text message and data rates apply.
Graholski to inbound. Get it into Amaya Battle. 15-foot baseline. Jumper is good! At the buzzer for the Sweet 16!
That is the voice of the former producer of the Bumper to Bumper program, now frequent, almost pretty close to weekly contributor to the program now, on the call of what turned out to be the game winner. As it also turns out, there was still some time put on the clock. I think it was 0.8, 0.8 of a second, if I'm not mistaken. Gaardsy, is that correct?
0.8.
Yeah.
Yep, just enough to get a really good look from
it was
three
a good
that
shot.
almost went down.
Yes, that was a surprisingly a good shot. I think kind of off the front of the rim and kind of clanked out. So let me ask you this. The pattern fascinated me of the two games, because when we signed off on Bumper to Bumper on Friday, the fourth quarter, I think, was just about to begin. And so I decided to stay to see if the Gophers, who looked like they were in trouble, could rebound. And, of course, as you know, they did. I felt similarly they were in trouble against presumably a better opponent, and I made sure to watch the fourth quarter, and they survived again. I got my math. Your club outscored the opposition a combined 49-18 in the two fourth quarters, and that's why they're live to telling about reaching the Sweet 16.
Yeah, 9 points they gave up in each of four quarters. That's the difference. And actually, the 9 caught me by surprise yesterday as I was following along when I kind of looked down towards the end. But then it made sense that because the Gophers were trailing much of it, but they were able to kind of claw their way back into it. And yeah, that's what this team is pretty much built on defense. I think if you follow them at all, like that's what they talk about a lot. That's what Dawn is always preaching. That's what's allowed them to have a successful season. That's honestly what's kept them in a bunch of games while they try to figure it out offensively. They haven't always been the most efficient offensive team, but their defense allows them to keep things close, keep it within arm's length, and they usually, historically, this season at least, have found a way to get enough offense when they need it by the end of the game, and the defense is a big reason why they have that margin for error. A massive offensive foul call as well against one of Ole Miss's best players. Pretty crucial, right? Because she scores on the play. Yeah. It would have increased the lead. Was it been to 8? I don't remember if they were up 4 or 6 at the time. And instead of a bucket for Ole Miss to pad their lead, it's turnover, Gopher ball, and the player is out of the game, disqualified on 5 fouls. Yeah, it's Cody McMahon who you're talking about. Yeah. And she's their best player. It's not one of their best. She is straight up their best player, and the Gophers had problems with her. And she was in foul trouble pretty much all day. Yeah, she got 2 fouls early in the first quarter that kept her on the bench for a while. Then she played for a while and ended up picking up, the third and then the fourth and then obviously the fifth right there. It was funny. I listened to a lot of stuff today. I listened to our call back just to, because I like to see if I actually had, certain things figured out, the old air check thing. Did I have the situation, all of that? Then I listened to the Mississippi broadcast as well because I wanted to hear his perspective. He thought that was a no-brainer bad call. I thought that was a no-brainer. Absolutely had to call an offensive foul. It's funny how that works out. Like watching it live, I thought for sure it was offensive. He thought it shouldn't have been called there. Who knows? Here's what I'll say. But yeah, I said it. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was just going to say that I thought it was closer. I thought it was borderline, but
I didn't notice any big objection on the Ole Miss sidelines. Because to me, I expected on that, if you're the head coach, you're losing your mind, given the significance of it, no matter whether you think it was a good call or not. And I think the mistake was basically, instead of just going straight up, definitely was sort of at an angle towards the defensive player in a way that certainly made it callable as a charging foul. And I thought that was the key to it. But on the Ole Miss bench, I did not see the reaction that I expected, given who's involved and the significance of the play.
Because that's the turning point of the game, and I said it at the time. That was the opportunity. The door was opened because McMahon was taking over the game. The Gophers had no answer for her, and she's been good forever. She's an All-American this year. She was All Big Ten first team the last 2 years before she transferred from Ohio State to Ole Miss. Scored 25 in the Gophers last year. It was an overtime game in Columbus. Their best player this year, Jelani Cambridge, had fouled out of that game, and Cody McMahon just took over. You felt like it was a good opportunity for the Gophers to steal one there, and McMahon just dominated. So she's good, and that's their safety blanket. And you saw it in the fourth quarter when they were keeping the Gophers at bay. Mm-hmm. It was a lot of her getting fouled, going to the rim. She avoided a foul, I thought, just basically walking around Tori McKinney earlier in the second half, which is hard to do. And that's when things bogged down for Ole Miss and gave the Gophers a chance to grease out a couple of possessions and get back in the thing.
I'll tell you another sneaky, massive play that probably gets forgotten because it happened so much earlier. It was late first quarter. Gophers score. Ole Miss has a chance to virtually run the shot clock out. They take an early shot, miss it. Gophers get a fast break going and get a three. To me, a massive 5-point swing potentially. Where if at worst, if Ole Miss handles that right, they give up. They don't get outscored in that stretch 5-0. They get outscored 2-0. I thought it was really either bad coaching or bad execution on the part of Ole Miss to basically open the door to an extra possession for the Gophers.
Well, and every point was going to count yesterday for sure. And what stands out about that shot too is that was Mara Braun's first 3-pointer.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, that she had scored. She had scored right before then. I think she had 5 to end the quarter. And Mara, when she has played well this season, a lot of it is because she's got going early. I'm thinking about like the Iowa game where she got going early to help them build the lead. Like she definitely plays on momentum, and when she sees a couple fall early, kind of gets everybody going. And it was a rough first quarter for both teams, right? They're both rugged defensive teams, so every point was going to matter. Every easy basket was going to matter. And I thought it was a great play by Briley Glenn to really sell that she was going hard to the basket, because that forced the defender to come over just a little bit, and Mara was there in the corner, and she's just not going to miss that very often. But you're right. It was in a game like that, you had to play from ahead as much as you could. Obviously, the Gophers were behind for a lot of it there in the fourth, but got the crowd going, which was massive. And, yeah, big shot for sure.
612 guy wants to know if you would like to issue a public apology to the barn. You knew that was coming.
It was live. Yeah, it was live. It's true. It's true. Well, here's my way out of it. Because it was unbelievable. Friday was unbelievable. Yesterday, even more so. And I've been asking people, like, a lot of my family was at the game. Obviously, I've been talking to a lot of people that were at the game. I can kind of tell how it sounds, but I've got my headset on, so I can't really tell how loud it is. And I can't really appreciate it either because I'm trying to work. But I could feel it. Like, there was legitimate shaking yesterday in the second half. That last defensive possession, or second to last, where they got the shot clock violation that got them the ball back when it was tied. It was absolutely shaking. I've always said, whatever you want to do with it, but you got to do something with it. And I would have built a new one. Everybody knows that. I get why people love it. This weekend, I think, wakes up the echoes for it. Certainly did for me. It was amazing. But you got to have a way to make it a little easier for people when there's 10,000 people in there. It was like golf courses are packed, hard to get food, hard to get beer. Like they do have to improve the experience for people, because now, I mean, I'm not saying 10,000 are going to be in the crowd for every Gopher game on the women's side, but there's going to be more probably next year after this past weekend. And I think Nika's got it going the right way too. So there's going to be more. So I hope they can make it a little easier for people. But yeah, the barn was at its best this weekend. There's no doubt about it. That's the barn that everybody talks about.
Yes, but let me throw this into the mix. What made it feel electric and special was there was something, to play for. It was performance. And it wasn't that it happened there. It's a nice added bonus for the nostalgia members of the crowd. And I'm one of those ordinarily. I'm not necessarily anti-barn either. But that you could have had great atmosphere in whatever building it was. But what made it work was there was something at stake. And there's been so rarely something at stake. Guess what? When there's nothing at stake, you know what the barn feels like? Nothingness, right? You've been there for it. It just feels like an old drafty building where there's not even any amenities to look forward to. So let's not forget it was performance, situation that enhanced it to a place where it's like you can go back and say, man, a barn, we were reminded of what the barn can be. No, what we were reminded of was what good basketball could be, where there's something competitive going on. That's the key to this thing, don't you think?
Yeah, and that's why I said you mentioned the amenities part of it. Like whatever you do with it, you got to fix it that way. Like just for people that come in general, you want to make it a little bit more of an experience and a little easier of an experience. But yeah, when it's good, it's good. There's never been any doubt about that. It just hasn't been good enough, for many, 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 many years. So we'll see which way it goes from here.
All right, so we play in Sacramento Friday, I believe, and we play the winner of UCLA Oklahoma State. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, that game's tonight at 9:00. UCLA, I don't know what they're favored by, probably 20-some points. One of the best teams in the last few years. They ran through the Big Ten, I think is pretty good. Ran through it really with very little issue. I was joking about it yesterday, I think on the broadcast, but overhearing the Iowa coach Jan Jensen talking to Don Plitzelwhite when they played in Iowa City back in whenever that was, January, February. Iowa had just gotten off the road to play the LA schools. Minnesota had just played UCLA like 10 days before. And Jan Jensen was complimenting Dawn on how well they played UCLA. She said, I just can't believe how well you guys played them. And UCLA still won by double digits. It was a very comfortable win. Like, they're just really good. And so I'd be stunned if anything weird happened tonight. It's a huge ask for the Gophers on Friday in Sacramento, but you get to play another game against a great team. But they are, I think, national championship good, right up there with UConn. They've lost one game all year. It was to Texas, who's also a number 1 seed. So they have everything, and including a National Player of the Year candidate, Lauren Betts.
By the way, as you probably well know, Iowa came very close to double dipping. The men's team advancing yesterday with a great victory, dethroning the defending champion Florida club. And the women just lost in a classic barn burner, double OT. So they were they were on the verge of having both Iowa teams, men's and women's teams, in the Sweet 16. So Iowa on the women's side is out. So who am I forgetting? Are the Gophers and UCLA the last two from the Big Ten, or we have somebody else from the Big Ten still alive?
No, Michigan's still alive.
Yeah, that's right.
Ohio State's still alive. Let me check the schedule. Ohio State's in the meat grinder as well. They looks like they've cut it to 4 here at the end of the third.
Okay.
They're hosting. They're playing 6 seed Notre Dame.
Okay.
They were down double digits, but they've cut it to 4 really since I've come down here. Illinois is in action tonight. They're a 7 seed taking on Vanderbilt, and then the long-time Big Ten foe rival USC, 9 seed, takes on South Carolina tonight in UCLA. So, they're still a pretty good Big Ten contingent. The Iowa thing is truly stunning. They're a 2 seed.
2 seed at home, right?
Virginia beat them. Yeah, exactly. And I was watching here with the kids, watching most of that game as we got back from school, and it was Virginia's a play-in team. They've been in Iowa City for like a week. Wow. They had a play-in game against Arizona State, then they beat Georgia, and they really, they did a great job down the stretch. Iowa made a big comeback in the third quarter. Virginia came back and tied it. That's a stunner for a 2 seed to go down at home like that. But it shows you how hard it is. I mean, the reason why everybody was so fired up yesterday is Sweet 16s are supposed to be hard, right?
Right.
Unless you're Tom Izzo, who's been to 17 of them, and it just makes it look so easy. They're supposed to be hard, and Ohio State's in the meat grinder right now. They're hosting. They're at home. They've lost at home a couple of times the last few years into the Sweet 16. So that's why it's cool that the Gophers were able to finish it off yesterday, because it would have been a huge, obviously, letdown if you didn't, given all the build up and all the crowd and the way that they played for much of the 2 days.
Well, on the men's side, the prevailing theme heard over and over is, of course, that Cinderella is all but dead. Nobody's going to take seriously Texas as a Cinderella, as an 11 seed, even though they were 11 seed. I think they were a play-in team, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
No one's going to take that seriously, regardless. On the other hand, I thought I read this morning that the ratings for the first day were like record-breaking. So I don't know what that tells us. I mean, I think we all worry that the mid-major miracles that we look for are pretty much dead and gone now for all reasons that have been widely explored. And I don't know if it keeps happening that way, whether that starts to have a cumulative effect on the interest in the tournament, or are we just too locked into it, especially because of our brackets, that as much as we complain about too many blue bloods and not enough upsets, we're still going to keep watching.
I think it's bulletproof. I think what you just said is exactly right. It's the brackets, it's the gambling, it's all the different props, it's all the different things you can do. And honestly, as much as we like the Cinderellas, and we get those every once in a while, and obviously High Point would have been that one this year because they beat Wisconsin and then had a great game with Arkansas a couple of nights ago. The secret, or what I've always felt, is as much as we like the first day drama, what I really like is an absolute bloodbath of a Sweet 16 and Elite 8. And that's what we get now. It to me, it's always been kind of a letdown after that first weekend. If you don't, at some point, the clock does strike midnight for the Cinderella, and they're overmatched or they're out of gas, and the games just aren't that compelling. I mean, think about, Rick Pitino talking about 34 years after Leitner beat him. He hopes he gets payback against Duke coming up here on the 27th. How good is that going to be?
Yes.
Tom Izzo and Danny Hurley locking in. I mean, what a region that's going to be. And then obviously you have what's going on, with Calipari on one side. You've got Arizona, who's always good. Like, I think the first weekend's always going to be, special for the potential of the Cinderellas, and that always does add an element to it. But the week coming up, I think, is maybe my favorite weekend of the year, because the games are so competitive and the stakes are so high, teams are so good, coaches are so good, that I think it's going to be a great weekend. So I don't see it slowing down at all.
Well,
really don't.
To your point, there's some very good matchups coming up in the round of 16 on the men's side, and a lot of that has to do with the coaching matchups, which still speaks to, I think, one of the key differences between college and pro. And some people don't like this, but I do think these massive historic college men's basketball coaching names helps to drive the thing, and maybe then to render less important the issue of, whether you got Cinderellas here. You got a lot of really big time names, starting with, you mentioned Rick Pitino, I think, who's now taken 4 different programs to the Sweet 16, which is almost absurd when you think about it, especially given the stops and starts he's had and the other places he's gone in between. The fact that he's still as hungry as ever, rebuilt out of nowhere again, another program, and is sitting there in the Sweet 16 with his 4th program. That is the kind of stuff that does drive it, and I think keeps interest up no matter who he's playing.
Yeah, and I love the fact that we've talked a lot in the college sports circles about the coaches that are leaving and getting out, the Nick Sabans, the Urban Meyers, the Roy Williams, the Mike Krzyzewskis, the Jay Wrights, because they don't want to do it the new way, the NIL way, the transfer portal way. And I love the fact that we've got a bunch of old heads that are still doing it. Your guy, Kelvin Sampson, John Calipari, Rick Pitino. You go back around, Bill Self is obviously still doing it. Like, that's the familiarity. Like, they are the stars of the sport. As much as you need the players, and the players are a part of it, we talk about it every year now. You're learning 4 or 5, maybe 6 new players on some of these teams, and it's just hard to keep track of because of the transient nature. And so I love the fact Matt Painter's been at Purdue forever, Mark Few's been at Gonzaga forever, Sean Miller's coached a million different places. He's got the Cinderella 11 seed Texas. Like, it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Do you know who Old Blue is?
Old Blue?
A texter named Old Blue.
I don't know.
320 guy. Here's his message. There's already a video of the UCLA coach talking to her team about who they're going to face in the Elite Eight. The Elite Eight, he repeats. I'm hoping, writes Old Blue, that tape gets to the proper authorities at the University of Minnesota. Is Old Blue making it up as he goes along, or is there some? It sounds odd to me, but is there some, basement tape going around that's lurking that people are aware of?
Well, I'll say this: if it exists, Dawn Plitzowite will find it. That's how I'll say. If it exists, she will find it because she does not miss much. She does not miss much when it comes to the bulletin board material, and she's like a lot of them, where even if it's not really a slight, she can make it a slight. They can find a way to manufacture a slight, which I think a lot of the great ones do. But yeah, if it exists, Coach P will find it for sure.
Thank you, and we'll hopefully see you at some point this week, and then you're going to head west, obviously, with the club to Sacramento, correct?
Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow.
Perfect.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks,
confirm.
Man. We'll see you then.
Thank you.
Gaardsy helping us out, play-by-play, of course, yesterday on your Gophers' really dramatic barn victory late in the game, late basket to take the lead. Ole Miss misses a pretty good shot to win it, and the celebration begins. I forgot to ask him about the court storming. I'm assuming, like I said, there must be. I don't remember seeing very many NCAA tournament court storming, so maybe there's etiquette there or more security, whatever the case may be. It certainly felt, I thought, court storming worthy in a town where we've really kind of cheapened that whole enterprise again and again and again. Quick pause. Don't forget, Gaardsy mentioned Dawn Plitzowite. She will join us at about 5:15. And Louie with Hockey Conversation a day early at 5:30.
Celebrates our $5,000 winning teachers with iHeartRadio's Thank a Teacher. It's powered by Donors Shoes, and there's still time to nominate a public school teacher making a difference. They could be the next to win $5,000 to make over their classroom. Do it now, iHeartRadio.com/teachers.
By the way, unrelated to pretty much anything we've discussed on today's program, 2 days ago was the 56th anniversary of one of the most visually potent and effective pieces of sports film ever shown. And it was shown over and over and over again at the beginning of an award-winning Saturday sports anthology program called The Wide World of Sports. ABC stopped running The Wide World of Sports, I believe, in 1998, January of that year. But 56 years ago, Saturday, a 22-year-old Slovenian ski jumper named Vinko Bogataj took the cataclysmic spill at the World Ski Jumping Championships in West Virginia, ended up going off the side of basically the slide, and on the basis of what you saw in the video, you'd have thought he was dead. He did live to tell about it, and in fact, 14 years later, in Sarajevo, I was part of a group of ink-stained wretches from the United States of America who found him in the Olympic Village and chatted with him about that iconic moment. You can find it easily online if you're too young to know about Wide World of Sports. Just Google Vinko, Bogataj, and the film will come up, and it'll take your breath away. It's remarkable. And that iconic open to the show, the thrill of victory, And I can't remember. You need to look up for me who they show when Jim McKay says the thrill of victory. What's the image? What's the moment? But the agony of defeat was represented like it had never been represented before by Vinko Bogataj. And it was perfect. You couldn't really top it. And the good thing is, as I said, as bad as the crash looked, he ended up surviving it. I think he had minor injuries, but it was not as bad as it looked on that occasion.
He was a boxer of some sort.
Boxer?
Being carried on a crowd.
Is it Muhammad
Ali? Pretty blurry. Well, I don't know.
Oh.
One can assume.
I'll find him. Yeah, I'll find him.
Yeah.
Thrill of Victory.
Not exactly
boxing.
the clearest of video.
Oh, it's kind of fuzzy?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. We'll look for it. Regarding court storming, there are a lot of people just insulted that I would even bring it up. Home game, if it's a home game in the women's tournament, you cannot storm the court because you're the higher seed always. That would not be a good look because you're supposed to win. And in the next few rounds, yes, I believe it's etiquette that you don't storm the court when it's a neutral location. I'll double down on my position. We have, as you pointed out, stormed the court for less. And even if you're favored, advancing to the Sweet 16 after all these years, 20, definitely worthy of court storming. Now, I understand why it was discouraged and it was on. There were signs everywhere and maybe even extra security making it pretty difficult to do even if you wanted to do it, because the NCAA does prohibit the court storm, and we are rules followers here, if nothing else. But it's ironic given how easy it is for like regular season games. Once upon a time, we might have said, well, the team that we beat has to be top 5 or number 1 in the country. And then we loosened it up and said, well, if they're ranked in the top 30 anywhere in the world, let's go ahead and storm the court. So I would have had no difficulty, even as the home team. Because part of it for me would be, it's the way they won. They were, I thought, dead in this game, even more so than the Green Bay game. I thought it was over, or pretty close to over. And another spirited fourth quarter, another great comeback, another late shot to win it. So some of it is to me, you're allowed as a fan to react to the circumstances that seem to indicate that you were in trouble and that you were going to lose the game. And in this case, the Golden Gophers did indeed win it. 6-4, and we'll see if we can find that alleged video of the UCLA coach, which I have a hard time believing exists, but it would be interesting bulletin board material for sure. By the way, speaking of Big Ten tournament teams, Ohio State's in trouble as a 3 seed, losing to Notre Dame in the Fort Worth Regional 73-59. About 2 minutes to go in. Actually, this is in the ball game. I thought it was the third quarter for a minute, but this is with I think 2.5 minutes to go. Looks like another Big Ten team is in trouble. The Ohio State Buckeyes. 64686 is the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. I could have gotten to this with Johnny, but we simply ran out of time. You know me, the last thing I want to do is stir up paranoia and defensiveness in this town when it comes to officiating, how we get jobbed by the officials and other places, other teams, other players always get the benefit of the doubt. So the last thing I want to do would be to feed that beast. But did you see the announcement from the NBA? Luka Doncic had been assessed his 16th technical foul, which, of course, we have experience in this area, means he was going to be missed the next game, suspended. And by the way, the Lakers have won like 9 in a row. I think they're playing again tonight. The Lakers appealed it, and the powers that be at the NBA rescinded said technical. Isn't that convenient? Now, I'm thinking we may have had one Anthony Edwards T rescinded. If Johnny's still listening, he can text me about that. But I just got to be honest with you. If there is literally a single player in the league who should receive less the benefit of the doubt than any other player in the history of basketball, it's Luka Doncic. Now, the comeback in this case was The other player was saying something about his mother, and then he said something about his mother, and it got out of hand. I have zero faith in Luka Doncic's truthfulness. The miracle is he only has 16 technicals. Now, the word on the street is, during this winning streak, by Luka's standards, he's been more restrained. And that, in fact, the Lakers love it because it would seem to indicate that the team has had great success, and maybe it will encourage him to be less whiny about the officials. But I can think of no player who deserves less the benefit of the doubt, because the truth of the matter is, over the course of this entire season, in a more righteous world, Luka would have 50 technical fouls by now. Not 16, 50. Because there is nobody who complains quite like him quite as often as he did. But in fact, as I said, I think the Lakers are playing the Pistons tonight. Now, if you're the Pistons, they're without their best player. So in their mind, don't they have a right to feel a little bit victimized? Oh, funny. Our guy's out hurt. Cade's out, but Luka's back. Won the appeal. Because, again, if anybody has earned the benefit of the doubt on technical foul calls made by officials on the scene who are listening to it all and who claim in this case they'd warned Luka and the other player about it, it's Luka Doncic. So next time somebody feels like they've got everything and we have nothing and we never get the benefit of the doubt on calls, or rarely, it's going to be hard for me to debate that point in this particular case, because you just shake your head and say, okay, we get it. He's Luka, and he's apparently got to play, and let's play by the rules here. He really wasn't. He was actually just defending the honor of his mother because someone else had ripped the honor of his mother, as they're speaking in another language, by the way, even though the person on the scene who is paid to make those decisions, the zebra, said, we warned them, they didn't stop, technical foul. So there you have it. I think, writes Texter Guy, you're forgetting a player that goes by the name Draymond Green. I would actually say in recent time, Luka has become more of a whiner. Draymond is certainly first ballot on that particular issue. There's no question about that. He should have many more technicals than he does. But I think lately, I'm talking about the course of the last couple of years, I think Luka has actually surpassed him for sure. Top 5 at 5, what do we have?
Well, we got to remind you, after all the slander, that this is still the state of hockey.